There are exceptions to the rules that the ADs impose. Here are 3 ways to not spend a huge amount of money at the AD. Number 1. How to get a Rolex watch from the AD Dubai edition. Believe it or not, there is only one authorized dealer in the whole of Dubai, and they are called Siddiqui & Sons, and they have roughly 10 stores across the whole of the city. As a comparison, London has 8 authorized dealers and around 25 stores across the city. So it's already pretty clear how slim of a chance you're gonna have to get a Rolex watch from an AD in Dubai. But I'm gonna go through all the ways in which I think will be very helpful to you in order for you to get the watch that you want from the AD in Dubai. So of the roughly 10 stores in Dubai, which one should you go to? My advice would be to go to the quieter stores to increase your chances of getting the watch, because the idea is that there'll be less people that you're competing against. And I would advise to not go for the ones that are in the shopping malls, because the footfall in the malls in Dubai are in the tens of thousands, if not the hundreds of thousands every single day. So it's highly competitive. So that crosses off the popular places like the big Dubai Mall, the Mall of Emirates and Festival City Mall and some others. The hotels will be quieter. There'll be less people in general, but also less locals that will go into the hotels to get their Rolexes from the AD within the hotel. Rolex ADs in all countries will favor locals. Why? Because it's much easier to build a relationship with people if they live locally versus living the other side of the world. So it's easier to build a spend history for the people that live there, and it's also easier for the ADs to keep an eye on the watches that they sold to people, and they can keep an eye on what they've still got and hopefully what they haven't sold. So yeah, it's just one of those things. Locals will be favored. And like I said, this doesn't just happen in Dubai, this happens all over the world. The only caveat to that is, I guess, people that spend a ridiculous amount of money. So for example, someone from Russia could spend a hell of a lot of money here in Dubai and kind of bypass the noise and all the process that a normal person would have to go through. So, money talks, right? What is the best time of the year to go to the AD, and also the best month and also time of the day to go to the AD to try and get lucky? This might sound a little over the top, but when you're competing against people with such high spend power and amazing relationships with the AD, your greatest weapon is going to be timing. So during the summer period in Dubai, it's thought that up to 30% of people that live here will leave the country for 2 to 3 months. Why? Dubai gets very, very hot in the summer, and so people decide to leave and go to other countries. So June, July, and August, you have less people here, and typically the people that leave during the summer months are the kind of people that would spend money at the AD and be getting these watches. And on the flip side of that as well, because of the heat, you also have less people coming to Dubai on vacation. So you've got more people leaving and less people coming, which should mean that you have a competitive advantage when trying to buy a watch from the AD. With regards to the best time of the month to go to the AD to get the watch that you want, I was told last week directly from someone in the AD, the best time to go is at the start of the month. The reason for this is because they are sent a new batch allocation of watches, and therefore there'll be a wider range of watches for you to choose from. That's the idea anyway. My advice would actually be to go at the end of the month so that you are front of mind, so that when the allocation comes in at the start of the month, they're going to be thinking about you, and hopefully you'll get the allocation before all the other people. However, more often than not, ADs will actually know where their watches are being allocated before the watches even arrive. But you never know, you can get lucky. To go one step further than this as well, I would advise to go in the morning. So go at the start of the day, just as they open, because the amount of times people have told me they've missed out on a watch because someone has purchased the watch like an hour or 2 before them is crazy, really. So make sure you go early, because there's more chance they're going to have a watch at the start of the day than at the end of the day. What is the actual process to getting a sports model watch at the AD? Because at this point you might be thinking, okay, cool, I've gone in summer, I've gone at the right time of the month, the right time of the day, maybe I'll get a Panda Daytona. Well, unfortunately, it's not that easy. I actually went to a different AD 2-3 weeks ago, and the saleswoman in the AD working there told me that to get allocated one of these watches, you have to spend 100,000 dirham, which is like 20,000 pounds or $27,000, and that will get you onto the wait list. So not even a guarantee that you'll get, in this case, the Panda Daytona. Basically what that means is you have to buy at least 1 or 2 watches to then be considered for a better, more popular watch. And again, this is pretty standard in most countries across the world, but I just appreciated that she actually told me straight up, because in most places, in my case, I know in London or the UK, They tend to keep it a secret. They don't tell new clients this, so it can be very misleading and confusing for people when they have the money ready to buy a watch, but they're denied and they're not really told why they can't buy it. So I'm glad that they weren't mysterious and cryptic with me, but they just told me straight up, 100K, then you'll be on the wait list. So let's say you've bought a watch or two and you spend the 100K AED in the store, so you've hit the spend criteria. What's next? Well, the good thing is that you're at least going to be considered for the watch that you really want because you've made it onto this so-called wait list, which is a talking point for another day, because what is a wait list? You know, what does it actually mean? It certainly doesn't mean anything official or fair. The bad thing is, well, put it this way, you've now graduated from university and you've just found out that you're competing against people in your industry that have 20+ years experience. Just because you're now on the wait list and you've entered the same market as the other clients at the AD, doesn't mean that you're going to be treated fairly or equally. Why? Well, you'll be competing against people with 10, 20, 30 years of a relationship with the AD. These guys might not have spent 100K. They might have spent another 250, a million, into the multi-millions. You know, we're in a very wealthy market, especially in Dubai. So yeah, it's going to be very, very competitive. And here's the thing, and it's sad to say it, but if I was working at an AD and I had to allocate a Panda Daytona, like the most popular watch that Rolex offer, would I give it to the guy that spent $1 million, or would I spend it to the guy who spent 100K? I think the answer is pretty obvious. But having said that, money isn't everything, and I've seen this firsthand. There are exceptions to the rules that the ADs impose. Here are 3 ways to not spend a huge amount of money at the AD, and this is just my opinion from what I've learned over the years of being within the industry. Number 1, you can be someone. You might be a celebrity, you might have some sort of status, you might be a government official, or you might be a senior employee at a really big blue chip company. Number 2, you have an extremely compelling story. Most people use big birthdays or a wedding or an anniversary or climbing Mount Everest or something that is super interesting that speaks very, very closely to the Rolex values. And number 3, you can just be an extremely likable person. It's oftentimes in life very kind and genuine people that get the most flowers, or in this case, the most watches. And I've spoken to many of you guys that have managed to do this, which is very, very impressive. You have no spend history, you have very, very little relationship with the AD that you've got the watch from, and you've been allocated some extremely popular sports steel Rolex watches. I'd actually love to know how you guys have managed to get your watches from the AD, and maybe it was something completely different to what I've talked about in this video.
But I just knew you were going to be somebody because you were so charming.
I've always been a big fan of yours.
Well, thank
ever
you.
since I first met you. So
Thank you.
For more videos, you can subscribe, please like the video, and if you want to buy or sell a watch with Watch Life, please check the description. You'll see all the details there. Thanks for watching.